Well, an extension for businesses doing it tough today, but not too much, lest they have the problems we've seen to date in getting workers back to work. Getting the balance right isn't easy. So how did they go? We've heard plenty of stories from business owners concerned that at $1,500 a fortnight, some casuals and part-timers were better off staying at home. Given my interview last night with Michael Rogers, head of the Australian Fresh Produce Alliance, we know that the horticulture sector are concerned they just won't have the workers when the harvest time comes around. Joining me now is someone who from the outset said these payments were needed, but that they must be carefully calibrated to be a hand up, not a handout. Peter Strong is the CEO of the Council of Small Businesses of Australia. He joins me now from Canberra. Well, you were right from the outset. Now, the government's argument was they had to get the money out the door, and look, we all understand that. What's been your assessment, Peter Strong, of today's changes?
Oh, well, they're good. First of all, we've got certainty for 6 months. That's really important because the next big event, as you know, Peter, is October, the budget. That is going to be huge because that's got to set the scene for Australia's future in a way that today's announcement is about treading water to a degree. It keeps people afloat. It helps people through. It gives support to those that need it. It's a bit more. It's more balanced. It's the right amount of money to a degree. The first amount was too high, as we know. So it's a good announcement. But what it sets up is, first of all, we have to go to the tax office, and we've already organised meetings there to go and work out exactly what JobKeeper 2.0 means. What are the issues? What are the quirks? It's going to have quirks. And how do we make sure that it's not too complicated for small business? But October, that is a big issue about what the government does for manufacturing and for the small business sector.
I thought today that splitting out the part-time and casual workers from full-time workers was necessary. Have you had any reaction from your members?
Oh, no, we've said that all along. That was one of the quirky things from the first round, is that there were people that used to earn $100 a week and they're getting $750 a week. And you know, when some of these people are 17 years old and they love it, they think it's awesome. But we needed to bring that back to some reality. There's still people will get more money than they normally get, but there's more common sense to it now as well. So it's a good decision. It's very complicated. The other way the government could have done it is worker by worker, and that would have just been horrendous for the employer and for the tax office and for everybody else. So this is, I think, a good result. As I say, let's see how we put it into play, and let's see what happens with the lockdown. We know West Australia's going well. We know Queensland's going well. South Australia, New South Wales is on the cusp. Let's see what happens in New South Wales and Victoria. They're so important to the economy. Let's hope they get through this lockdown and the businesses won't need, well, not as many businesses will need JobKeeper.
Yeah, it's interesting. I know a lot of people outside of Victoria are looking, with sympathy at Victorians, but they're thinking, thank God that's not us. But I think the reminder there is last year, Victoria drove 40% of the growth out of the national economy. 40% of the growth. That's quite a huge sort of statistical underpinning of how important the Victorian economy is. So it's really a two-speed economy, Australia, at the moment, isn't it? You've got Victoria and places where there is a harder lockdown, or you've got particular sectors, aviation and hospitality and tourism, indeed. But I would imagine in WA and Queensland, the Northern Territory in particular, and South Australia, you're seeing stronger return to some sort of normal, aren't you?
Oh, they are. And again, hospitality's still suffering to a degree because tourism's not there. But they're a lot closer. They're getting back to normal. We're hearing, I think, the 30% limit. There's a lot more businesses won't hit that particular limit. But they're still going to have to put staff off. They're still going to put people off. And one of the things we talk about with the JobSeeker is it was high. We've always said New Start was too low. But it's like when you're going to put people off in small business, and they will be putting people off. It's nice to know that the welfare system is going to look after them, and that's why we've said New Start should be higher than it is. But the other big challenge, if I can segue to it, Peter, is the approach to how we promote manufacturing, how we make sure we've got certainty in supply chains in Australia.
I'm keen to know, you mentioned the budget then. What do you want to see in the budget for small business? And talk to me about how do we kickstart manufacturing? Because we've all said it in this pandemic, more manufacturing has to come back to Australia. We're not going to pay our workers less. So the other big issue obviously is energy. But what sort of policy parameters, what settings do you want to see from the government?
Well, first of all, we don't want protectionism, all right? That's out. We want to see laissez-faire economists in the basement at the Treasury. We want to see people that know what to do. So we're looking at tax breaks, without a doubt. We're looking at support to get those skilled workers. And in manufacturing, we're going to need skilled workers. I know there's lots of little manufacturers out there or people that want to get into it, and they aren't expanding or starting because they can't compete with the international market. So without using protectionism, we need to make sure that they can compete with international goods. And that means they've got to be clever, they've got to be innovative, they've got to get support, they've got to have cheap power, they've got to make sure that they have transport to suit the situation, and they get a leg up without getting in the way of innovation. Small business, the other thing, like we've got a big campaign at the moment called Go Local First, because we've got to support the whole small business community, because from that will come those that want to grow. So we've got to make sure that the businesses that close coherently. We don't want to see people going bankrupt and insolvent, because it's pretty hard work closing a business. When you've been running it for 20 years, you've done nothing wrong. So let's make sure they get the support from accountants and bookkeepers and experts. Then we've got those that need to restructure, to stay open. Let's make sure, we're not talking a lot of money here. We're just talking about expert support, expert advice for those people, individuals who need to do that. And then, of course, then you've got the growth people, those involved in manufacturing.
It's being able to wind up with dignity for no fault of their own. And particularly in the place of Victoria, you're talking about 2 lockdowns. I think some will have survived the first lockdown. They're going to find the next one very tough. Peter Strong, thanks for your time.